Tom Dwan, is he the best of the best? Or a high-stakes gambler caught in a web of chaos and controversy? With wins that shook the poker world, unfinished million-dollar challenges, and debts that have left pros fuming, he's as polarizing as he is unpredictable. But behind the bluffs and the big risks, is there real genius at play? Let's find out just how good Tom Dwan actually is. Dwan's poker story begins with a $50 birthday gift from his parents. He deposited it on an online poker site called Paradise Poker. His username? Durrrr. Not to make him sound cool, but literally just to mess with people. And you know what? It worked. Tom didn't just sit around playing for fun either. He studied every move his opponents made, learning from their mistakes and turning them into his advantage. Soon, he was climbing the stakes, from pocket change tables to 2-4 and 3-6 no-limit hold'em on PokerStars, stacking up winnings like they were nothing. And here's the thing about young Tom Dwan. He wasn't just confident, he was fearless. He didn't see poker as a game of cards. He saw it as a game of who blinks first, and he was determined it wouldn't be him. When his friends asked if he was good at poker, he'd just shrug and say, "Nah, everyone else is just bad." A little teenage arrogance maybe, but it's that mindset that turned Tom from an ordinary kid in New Jersey into one of the biggest names in online poker. Fast forward to Tom Dwan at 21, stepping into the world of live poker. He'd been crushing online tables for years, but this was a whole new arena. Now he's sitting across from seasoned pros, the legends he'd only ever seen on screen. Did he back down? Not a chance. Dwan made his first big splash in 2007 at the World Poker Finals, where he scored 4th place and took home over 300 grand. By 2008, he was almost champion at the Aussie Millions, racking up another 6-figure prize. Suddenly, he was everywhere. Big tournaments, high-stakes cash games, TV poker shows. But he wasn't just there to fill a seat. Dwan was making waves. Then came the hands that left everyone talking. On high-stakes poker, he won a massive pot against Barry Greenstein, amassing over 900K, the biggest pot ever seen on TV at the time. But Dwan wasn't done yet. He later set a new record with a $1.1 million pot against none other than Phil Ivey. This wasn't luck or a fluke. It was pure, fearless poker. Dwan pushing limits and shattering expectations with every hand.
Ivey is all in. Dwan calls with the nuts. Ivey cannot win this pot.
Wow.
What makes Tom Dwan such a wild card at the table? Let's dive into what sets him apart from the rest. For most players, bluffing is a tactic, a way to steal a pot here and there. But for Dwan, bluffing is an art form. He's not just throwing out bluffs to look flashy. He's calculating every single move, analyzing his opponents, and finding the perfect moments to apply pressure. He has this knack for sensing weakness, knowing exactly when his opponents are unsure or hesitant. And that's when he pounces, making his bluffs not just high risk, but high reward. Every poker player knows how to bluff, but Dwan, he's mastered the art of making opponents pay when he's actually holding the goods. When he's got a winning hand, he's not content with just taking the pot. He wants to drain every last chip he can. Dwan knows how to mask his strength, playing it cool, sometimes even looking a bit uncertain, inviting his opponent to feel safe and bet into him. It's a kind of trap that goes beyond raw poker skills. It's psychological warfare. Dwan knows that the biggest pots aren't won by going all in early. They're won by slowly baiting your opponent to stay in, to think they're the ones closing in on you. His opponents think they're in control, confident they're reading him, until it's too late and they're neck deep in a pot they can't escape. What makes Dwan so dangerous isn't just his hands. It's his ability to make other players commit more and more, even when they're on the losing side. He's not just winning hands, he's orchestrating them, building a pot in a way only someone with his experience and instincts can. That's why playing against Dwan is never a simple game. It's an exercise in patience, psychology, and sometimes realizing too late that you were never in control. Then there's his adaptability. Dwan's not one to stick to a single strategy. He constantly shifts his tactics, studying his opponents, reading their tendencies, and adjusting his play on the fly. Against aggressive players, he'll slow down, laying traps and waiting for the right moment. Against cautious opponents, he ramps up the pressure, forcing them into uncomfortable spots. This flexibility makes him a nightmare to play against, because he's always one step ahead, making it nearly impossible to predict his moves. And let's not forget his nerves of steel. Dwan is a player who's all in before you've even decided if you're going to call. He's not afraid to risk everything if he senses an edge. This fearlessness, some would even call it recklessness, is what allows him to pull off plays that would leave other pros trembling. He's had sessions where he's lost millions, shrugged it off, and come back just as confident. To him, the swings are part of the game, and he's built a mindset that keeps him steady no matter the outcome. Finally, there's Dwan's ability to get into his opponent's heads. Players at the highest levels know each other's game well, but Dwan's unique approach throws them off. He'll do unexpected things, make unconventional bets, and keep everyone at the table on edge. It's not just about winning pots. It's about creating an environment where his opponents are constantly second-guessing themselves. So, when you put it all together, Dwan's skill set is a perfect storm of fearlessness, adaptability, and psychological insight. He's not just good, he's unpredictable, and that might just be the most dangerous quality of all. As Dwan's fame grew, so did his appetite for risk, and where better to push the limits than in the world's highest-stakes cash games? Enter Macau, a place where the stakes are so high they'd make even poker legends sweat. Dwan quickly became a fixture at the tables, going up against wealthy Chinese businessmen with stacks 10 times the size of most people's yearly salaries. We're talking games with blinds as high as $6,000, $12,000. And Dwan didn't just sit back, he threw himself into the action. Rumors started circulating, Tom Dwan winning millions in one night, only to drop just as much the next. One story even claims he lost a $20 million pot on a brutal set-over-set hand. Dwan's response? Classic Dwan. He kept coming back for more. But here's what sets Dwan apart. He adapted to this entirely new environment. Asian poker culture is different, more aggressive, more unpredictable, basically full of fish. Instead of trying to change the game, Dwan adapted his style, learning to read these new opponents and adjusting his tactics to keep them guessing. For Dwan, this wasn't just poker. It was a whole new challenge, one he met head-on. Tom Dwan's poker journey hasn't just been about daring bluffs and massive wins. It's also been a roller coaster of unfinished challenges, public debts, and controversial deals that have kept the poker world buzzing. If Tom Dwan owes you money, make sure to subscribe. It all started with the durrrr challenge, a high-stakes dare that would push any pro to their limits. Back in 2009, Dwan threw down a bold gauntlet. He challenged anyone willing to 50,000 hands of heads-up poker at 200, 400 no-limit hold'em or pot-limit Omaha. The stakes were wild. Dwan put up $1.5 million if he lost, while his opponent only had to wager $500,000 if they lost. Patrick Antonius jumped in first, and they played thousands of hands, but the challenge ultimately fizzled out. Then came Jungle Man, who not only took Dwan up on it, but gained a lead before delays, and gaps turned the challenge into one of poker's longest-running sagas. Over a decade later, Kate still voices frustration, sometimes publicly calling out Dwan, who continues to put off completing the match. But the unfinished challenge is just one piece of the puzzle. Over the years, several high-stakes players have accused Dwan of owing substantial sums. Peter Jetton, a prominent poker pro, recently claimed that Dwan bought a 50% stake in him at the 2020 Aussie Millions, but didn't follow through on his $220,000 share. After 4 years of stalled payments and Dwan's assurances that the money's coming, Jetton finally aired his grievances on social media, drawing attention to Dwan's financial dealings. Dwan eventually paid part of the debt, but Jetton has openly expressed doubts about seeing the full amount, calling it a delaying tactic.
We'll see if you're even around in 5 years.
Maybe I won't
That's
be.
the truth. I don't think you will be.
Another debt story comes from Haralabos Vulgaris, a well-known sports bettor. Vulgaris claims that Dwan owed him around $350,000 from a bearding arrangement, where Dwan placed bets for Vulgaris to keep his identity hidden. The winnings initially went to Dwan, who allegedly lost them by betting on behalf of another group, leading to a major shortfall. Dwan doesn't deny that a deal existed, but disputes the exact terms and amounts. Vulgaris recovered some of the money from a third-party debt to Dwan, but the two haven't mended fences. It's just another layer in Dwan's tangled web of high-stakes finances. Most recently, Dwan accepted a sponsorship with America's Card Room, an online poker site criticized for its ties to alleged bot scandals. The timing of his new role as ambassador couldn't have been more intense, with news of these financial disputes still echoing through the poker community. Some fans questioned the judgment of ACR in hiring him amid these issues, while others stood by Dwan, saying he deserves a fresh start. As he begins this new chapter with ACR, it's unclear if this move will rebuild his reputation or if it's simply more fuel for his critics. So, is Tom Dwan just a player caught up in the high-stakes world of poker, or does he thrive in the chaos he's created? one thing's for sure, his name remains one of the most talked about in the game, for better or worse. Dwan's unpredictable style revolutionized poker, inspiring a whole new generation of players to push the limits. Ask any young online pro, Dwan's name will come up plenty as to who inspired them. Dwan proved that poker wasn't just about the cards you hold. It was about reading people, creating pressure, and never backing down. Even after stepping back from the spotlight, Dwan's influence is still felt. His durrrr challenge and jaw-dropping pots are the stuff of legend, keeping him in the poker conversation even years later. He's shown up recently in events like the Triton Super High Roller Series. And every time he sits down, fans and players alike stop to watch, wondering what insane move he'll make next. In a world where players aim to stay safe, Dwan's legacy is about breaking boundaries. He's the guy who brought back the excitement, the high stakes, and the unforgettable bluffs. Love him or hate him, one thing's clear. Tom Dwan changed poker and he did it on his own terms. So, how good is Tom Dwan really? Well, that's not so easy to pin down. He's the guy who redefined what it means to play fearlessly, taking poker to places no one expected. Sure, he's had ups and downs, epic wins and painful losses. But that's the thing about Dwan. He's not just about the results. He's about the thrill, the drama, the willingness to risk it all just to see what happens.
There's the call!
Hey, call?
Call.
Wow. Tom Dwan has just won the biggest pot in the history of televised poker.
Poker fans may debate his choices, but love him or hate him, there's no denying he changed the game. For every hand he plays, there's a whole table watching, wondering what move he'll pull next. And maybe that's the real answer. It's not about how good he is. It's about how unforgettable he's become. Because let's be real, poker wouldn't be the same without Tom Dwan. From online tables to high-stakes cash games in Macau, Dwan's impact on poker goes way beyond the money he's won or lost. He redefined what it means to play without fear, inspiring a whole generation of players to break away from cautious play and embrace high-risk, high-reward tactics. Dwan's influence is especially strong among younger pros who grew up watching his wild bluffs and impossible comebacks. He showed them that poker isn't just a game of cards. It's a game of pressure, psychology, and unpredictability. But it's not just his aggressive style that's left a mark. Dwan's ability to adapt, read opponents, and thrive in both online and live games was groundbreaking. He blurred the lines between online and live poker, proving that the skills of one arena could carry over to the other. In a way, he was the bridge between the old guard of live poker pros and the new wave of fearless online players. Even today, when Dwan shows up at high-stakes events, he brings a level of excitement few can match. Fans tune in just to see what he'll do next, because no one plays like durrrr, and no one can predict what he'll pull off at the table. He's carved out a unique place in poker's history. And while his moves might be unconventional, one thing's clear: poker wouldn't be the same without Tom Dwan. Tom Dwan's fearless approach has taken him to unbelievable highs and some serious lows. But he's not the only pro who's stared down massive losses. If you're curious about other poker legends who risked it all and lost, check out the next video. You'll be amazed at how far some players will go.